Hello Epic 7 newbies. This is Suspect Amy, and I'm here to do a quick video about whether or not new Moonlight 5-star heroes should be meta units. I'm firmly in the camp that these should be great units for two reasons. One is that for the last 10 months, these units have defined the meta. They all had a purpose in the game, and they were all amazing at achieving that purpose. Even Hwayoung, whose only purpose is to disable the whole enemy team for a turn and push, did her job very well. Second, ML5s are ridiculously expensive and difficult to obtain. Let's break down how much money it costs to pity the new ML5, Bystander Hwayoung. It takes 200 pulls to hit pity, so the maximum you would need is 10,000 mystic medals. If you started with 0, you would have to buy all 5 of these packs here for $100 each. Then you would buy all 5 of these $50 packs and you would have exactly enough to pity. That, my friends, is $750. This is, of course, the most expensive scenario, but this is also entirely possible. So to answer the question, should a brand new Moonlight 5-star hero be an amazing unit? For $750, you're damn right they should be. I know what everyone's saying. But Amy, that will make the game pay to win. And you're 100% right. Mystic medals should not cost $50 for a single 10 pull. That's just ridiculous. Everyone would be more than happy to get what's basically a copy of a unit no one ever plays if mystic medals were like half this price. I consider a general banner character like Genua to be significantly better than Bystander Hwayoung in almost every aspect. Heck, I even consider young Senya, who's much easier to get, a must-pull above the latest Moonlight 5-star. For $750, that should just never be the case. Okay, so what don't I like about Hwayoung? She just doesn't do her job. The only reason she exists is to stop the light tank meta, and without a crazy amount of setup, she doesn't. This is problem number 1. When I was reading about her in advance, I thought she would be way easier to build than LQC because she got defense for free and her crit imprints, but I was wrong. She needs your best damage gear. I tried a bunch of different builds for her, and this is by far my most successful one. She should be built like a glass cannon and should be as close to 200 speed as possible. With this build, she will rarely survive past 2 rounds, but at least she'll take a couple of bad guys down with her. Problem number 2, you need to build a whole team around enabling her. For companions, you need 3 things. Someone who can push her, someone who can give her soul burn, and someone who can get hit really hard to trigger her S2. This waifu setup has a really high win rate in Arena for me. Akate's has a 40% push on her S2, and with the spotted mouse artifact, she will give Hwayoung the soul burn she needs to do decent damage. For an S2 trigger, the classic BBK Senya combo works really well here. Like I mentioned before, a well-built Last Rider Crow or a young Senya can usually one-shot Hwayoung, so don't count on her lasting beyond a couple of rounds. You may ask why I don't bring Ilinav instead of Senya to keep Hwayoung alive. I did a lot of testing with both of these tanks, and the problem is Ilinav's mitigation is too strong. Hwayoung's S2 would trigger much more often when paired with Senya. Having Hwayoung last an extra round or 2 and never triggering her S2 is not as good to me. Problem number 3. Hwayoung is hot garbage if she doesn't soul burn. Here's her against the light tank meta. She should own this group, right? She was built for this. Not without soul burn. This is what I mean. After all my team goes, Senya's S3, BBK's S3, and Hwayoung's S3. Look, I barely did any damage at all. This is the light tank meta that is terrorizing PvP, and they just laugh at her if she doesn't have her soul burn. Everyone says that's ridiculous, you shouldn't expect her to one-shot a light tank. For $750, yes, I do expect her to do at least something against this toxic group. Look at this battle here. No soul burn so she doesn't kill, whatever. But check this out, her S2 triggers into Mort. 7,000 damage. What the hell? Genua can fart next to Mort and do more damage than this. Speaking of which, if you want a great counter to Hwayoung, it's Ice Cream Lelouka. I fought this team and Lelouka completely negated Hwayoung's damage with her Ice Cream heal and defense buff. Problem number 4. Hwayoung's S2 randomly loses battles for you. Here's an example. Harsetti triggers Hwayoung's S2 and she goes into BBK, triggering Dragon Bride Senya, and I end up losing this. So I try again. Surely her S2 can't go into BBK twice, right? And Yes, it can. So I try again. There we go. S2 goes into Senya, and I get the win. I triggered into young Senya a couple of times, and that was instant death for Hwayoung. I actually stopped playing against young Senya teams completely because of this, and trust me, finding teams that don't have her is pretty rough. There are dozens of games where her S2 hit the wrong person and I lost. If it hit someone else, I would have easily won. Winning and losing based on RNG like this is very frustrating. So finally, do I think she needs a buff? Let me put it this way. She dies too easily, she doesn't do her job unless you build a whole team around setting her up, and her S2 sometimes loses the battle for you. For a unit that can cost up to $750, you have to ask yourself, is she even worth unequipping your best gear from another hero like Genua? If your answer is no, then yeah, she needs a buff. What will her buff be? I actually correctly predicted Helua's buff, so I'm going to take a shot in the dark here. At first, I was adamant that her buff should be that, instead of her S2 going on a random unit, she should just get a 100% CR push and her S3 gets reset. At least her S2 can be controlled and not lose the game for you based on RNG. You can instead use it strategically and don't really need to bring a CR pusher. The added benefit is that she can be used in Guild War or Arena Defense, and this will target light units automatically. But her S2 randomly losing a game for you is not her biggest problem. Her biggest problem is that she needs a soul burn to be useful. This makes her too hard to build and too hard to set up. The damage she gets from soul burn should be her normal S3 damage. Her soul burn instead should be on her S1 and do something low-key but kinda useful like strips a buff before she hits. This will slightly help counter her weakness into defense and barriers. Anyways, those are my thoughts on Hwayoung. Let me know if you agree or disagree in the comments below. That's all I have today. Thanks for watching my video. Bye everyone.